Hi, my name's Kim. I'm an East Asian medical provider, and this channel is all about bringing yourself back to health. I want to introduce you to somebody. That's a new addition to the household. It's a dwarf Mexican lime bush, and it came in last Sunday right before the snowstorms. Isn't he beautiful? So I did have a lime tree a few years back, and I ended up watering him with tap water. What a mistake that was. So he died, and I've been waiting to get another lime tree, and I finally found one at the nursery the other day, and so this is my new lime tree. So the little guy's bloomed and almost all the flowers are gone. Yet, if you've been watching the channel, you know limes are incredibly effective at helping you reduce inflammation in the gut. So there's my new addition to the household. Today, I'm going to talk about being a vegan. And the question is, can everyone be a vegan? I could get into all of the ethical issues about being vegan because that can be part of being a vegan too, from the industrialized commercial farming of livestock to the water issues to GMO plants and organic farming. All of it, just eating today has become an ethical issue, and there's not an easy answer. Here's just a personal example for me. I went to avocados as a fat and protein substitute, and most of our avocados today are coming out of Mexico. Then I watched some Netflix special and found out that commercial avocado farming is so water intensive, just like cotton. And the commercial farmers were siphoning off all the water from the area, and the local farmers who've lived there forever could no longer use their wells and were forced to pay for and transport water in. Gone are those easy black and white days where someone said they were vegan and you could turn and look at their leather shoes and yell, hypocrite. I really encourage you to look into that and to make decisions that work for you, because there's not any easy answers today. And so we're not going to look at the ethical issues of eating, because if we were going to do that, we would all have to starve to death. But the question I'm curious about is, does it make sense? Can we all be vegans? Let me introduce you to my story. I was actually introduced to Chinese medicine way back when I was in high school. And what happened was my mother's cancer, her breast cancer, came back. So she was stage 3, HER2 positive, and her breast cancer came back. Now, you probably don't know this, but back then the amount of chemotherapy that they gave was like 6 times as much as they give today. And when they did surgery, they were so much more aggressive than they are today. So they literally, when she did the surgery for her first breast cancer, they not only they took the lymph glands, but they went into the muscle tissue. It was just this huge scar. It's nothing like they do today. I remember her fingers turned black. She couldn't use her hands. All her hair fell out. She was exhausted, and she just couldn't do that again. And what happened was my dad called me up and he said, hey, your mom and I, we're going to be gone for a couple weeks. And your mother wants to go work with a Chinese medical doctor to learn how to eat to heal herself from her cancer. Okay, so I told you this was back in the 70s, when the only thing that worked as far as anybody in the West was concerned was Western medicine. And that's where I was too. So I can tell you, this was really scary to hear. I was so sure that my mother was going to pass within the next few months. And just trying to deal with that whole concept was incredibly stressful. And what ended up happening was 6 months went by, and my mom actually looked really good. She was much more vibrant. She was feeling so much better. And then a year went by, and she was still feeling great, and she was looking better. And then 2 years passed, and my mom was still doing great. And then the third year came along and she went back to her Western medical doctor. What she found out was that she was in complete remission. And for her Western medical doctor, that was incredibly unpredictable, I guess would be the statement. He was pretty sure she had passed. And so he had to ask her what she did. And she said that she ate for her health. Okay. And here's the thing. That made such a huge impression on me. I was living in a world where, the best and the brightest minds were all studying and participating in Western medicine, and they were coming up with these amazing solutions that they thought were going to be able to heal everything. And yet, with something as dangerous as cancer, they weren't able to come up with a solution. What healed her was something as simple as understanding the healing properties of foods. And that was amazing to me. She ended up living like another 40 years, and she just passed a couple years ago. So that whole experience made a profound impact on me. And I vowed that someday I was going to learn what I really considered magic. I mean, it had to be magic because our biggest and best and our brightest minds couldn't come up with a solution. And yet somebody could look at food, identify which foods you needed to eat to heal you. And as long as you did that, you would get better. So for me, that was magic. And I was going to learn how to do that. And one day I was able to become an East Asian medical provider and learn how to do that. Now, here was the other thing that was really interesting, because we're talking about veganism and should everybody be a vegan? Well, one of the things that was really shocking is my mother's diet wasn't just plant-based. She did have meats in it, and there were specific meats that were in it that were focused on her constitution and what she needed to do for her health. But if she didn't eat meat, she would get insanely fatigued and she would lose all this weight and she would become more sick. So she had to eat meat. That was the other thing that really made an impact on me, is that what healed her was food choices that weren't specifically only plant-based. So, early on, I learned that eating for your health didn't necessarily have to be completely plant-based. For some people, that wasn't going to work. You had to pick foods that were going to work for the constitution that you were dealing with. And that's a really, really large Chinese medicine concept. There's not one answer for everything. They'll allow everything in, and you have to pick the things that fit your constitution to improve your health. So from a Chinese medical perspective, saying that everybody's a vegan, that doesn't work because it doesn't address everybody's health. And what does that mean? Well, there's like 7 billion people on this planet. And if you look at these 7 billion people, there is not one person who is exactly identical to another person. And if there's 7 billion unique people on this planet, then more than likely, in order to be a unique individual, you're probably eating different things. And that would be 7 billion different diets. Okay, so if there's that many people, that many unique people, then there would be that many unique diets. Okay, and there was Something else that made a huge impact on me way back in the early 90s, when I was still looking for the answers to how to understand the healing properties of foods. And it was this book here, this 4 blood types and eat right for your type. And they're pretty clear in here that they say, hey, this book is not intended as a substitute for medical recommendations. The information was really interesting for me because what he said in here was that each of the different blood types had different proteins, and these proteins would respond or react differently to different foods in the body. So for some foods, it would react negatively and create histamine reactions, and for other foods, it would react positively and it would allow it to process through without any issues. And so this was the first real scientific introduction to the belief that there were specific foods that you could eat that would help you and foods that would hurt you. And that, there's multiple blood types in the world. So not everybody could eat the same diet. And he was really clear in here that some people could not eat vegan. If they did, they would just get really sick, and I would be one of those people. And today, I think so many more people have realized, as they've tried and struggled to become a vegetarian, and they just couldn't pull it off, that they actually would get more fatigue, more brain fog, feel sicker, gain weight. If they did that eating vegan is not for everybody. And part of the scientific explanation for that I found in this book.
On the other hand, there is a subset of people that really should eat vegan because when they try to eat animal-based products, same thing, it just makes them sick. They gain weight, their stomach gets upset, they get cramping, they get bloating. And that subset of people is maybe about 30% of the population. That was a great book. It gave me some ideas of what foods I could eat. What it didn't tell me is which of those foods had specific healing properties to address things I'd already done to myself. Chinese nutritional therapy took it to that next step. What does all this mean? Well, I guess it means that it's complicated, and there's not a one-size-fits-all for everybody. If you're interested in learning more about Chinese nutritional therapy for your individual health, check out my website at best-acupuncture.com and look at some of the classes that are available out there for you to enhance your health. Till next time, I'll catch you on the other side.